I'm going to skip the intro once again because I'm getting back home way later than I ever expected to. And yeah, anytime I can cut off of it. So basically I was talking about Mean Girls for Men is what prison was like. It was like the movie Mean Girls. So basically like everybody's acting like they're friends to people's faces and gossiping about them as soon as they walk out of the room. And you know, Mean Girls, that they had their little group like that. That was like a little gang, okay. But even though they're like their own little gang, as soon as one walks away, they're talking about that person. That's the same thing that I saw basically. I talked about my buddy Kevin Crockett. He went to the hole. He went to the shoe, and whenever he went to solitary, they didn't do nothing to look out for him. He had a huge store, one of the biggest stores on the compound. Meaning he, loaned stuff out. That's how he made a few extra bucks. And not only did they not help keep his store running, but when he went to the hole, some of them went in his room trying to be like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. This was mine actually, blah, blah. That's what some people say to see it to get by, or they'll just rush in there and take stuff. And some of the people supposed to be his friends, part of the group that he was a part of, stealing from him. As soon as he's gone to the hole. So he was, saw it for what it was. And he just said, I'm doing my own thing. Screw this. He was bitter about it, as he should have been. Now, he's been to USPs. Now, USPs, that's the highest security in federal prison. Of course, they got, administrative prisons like the ADX, which is the most secure in the world. But USPs, they're rough. He was at Terre Haute, which I believe that's, if it's not where they carry out the death penalty, then he was at another prison too that had the death penalty, because we've discussed about that before. But I believe Terre Haute is the one that they actually carry it out at. But yeah, he was there before he ended up in Petersburg. Now, he did something interesting too. He did 17 years in prison. 17 years. He'd never used a cell phone until he got out. Never used one. I mean, it was so much stuff was like, and he also got out during lockdown. Imagine that. 17 years you've never used a cell phone. And then you get out, the whole world's going crazy. It's locked down. You don't know what's going on. That is confusing time for a lot of people. But especially for him, I can't even imagine. So, he originally had a 35-year sentence. And I'm trying to quote this all right. I'll get him on here and tell it one day. But it's kind of like the Fast and the Furious law. Fast and the Furious case. So basically, the DEA, I don't know what the whole story behind this was. But they were selling guns or giving guns or not retrieving guns. Something with gun with the or pow, whatever you call to the cartel, basically. And some of those weapons ended up taking out some of the federal agents. So basically they said, nah, you can't do that. You can't sell them a weapon that might come back and take out one of our own. Not only that, but if we've had somebody come undercover and they had like a camera on and they saw a weapon and they did not immediately go get it, and you could take that weapon and bring it and turn it in yourself to the feds, then they would give you time off. See, ain't got no tailing, nothing like that. But if you could get a weapon, turn it in the feds that they had on camera, it would cut time substantially. Okay, Kevin Crockett had a huge meth case. He was going down, I believe it was Georgia. I think it was Georgia. He told me about some strip club that's supposed to be famous, and that's where he'd meet his dude and get his stuff. It's called like, I've got a weird memory. I remember stuff, somebody can tell me something once 10 years ago, and I remember, and this is something he probably literally only told me once, probably about 6-7 years ago. I believe the club was called Cheetahs. See if there's a famous strip club called Cheetahs, and get back to me and tell me if if my memory's as good as I think it could be. Some people told me I don't think it's that good, but enough people told me. I'm hoping it is. Hopefully I don't end up losing it when I get older. I had a couple grandparents have that happen. That's some scary stuff. But anyhow, that's the ADD talking. So Yeah, he had 35 years federal prison, mandatory minimums and all that. Completely just, oh Lord, it's crazy the stuff that the sentences people got for nonviolent crimes. Okay, and his brother was able to retrieve an AK-47 that was on camera. I'm pretty sure about that. To remember him saying that. And since he was able to retrieve that, the Fast and Furious law, they cut his time in half, 35 down to 17. Probably they looked at it too and they said, I mean, he's a nonviolent drug offender and he got 35 years. And he retrieved this illegal weapon, fully automatic, off the street. He had a family member do that. So, yeah, this is what needs to happen. So, yeah. And even then, like, after his federal sentence, he had to go to state for a couple of years. Man, it's, I talk about family, it's blood, and family, it's not blood. That's my brother right there. Don't you dare dip out on me this time, baby. You've been getting in a bad habit of that. You gonna hang out today. All right. Some of y'all get that reference. But anyway, so he went to state prison for like a year or two. He had that left to do. And during the time he was there was a dude that I mentioned in another story. It was talking about this girl that hit drug dealers and other people. She'd end up acting like she wanted to get with them. Then she'd set up a robbery. Okay, she did that to a good many people. She did that. This guy Floyd, he's from Floyd, Virginia. But anyway, he was always jealous of me. Always jealous. I was doing things more than he was doing. He liked to have the notoriety or authority. I didn't care nothing about none of that. I just wanted money. And the main thing I wanted was like a place to have a guaranteed place to sleep and carry on the lifestyle I was living. Because, as much money as I had, didn't have credit. You can't even get a hotel room where I live until you're 21. I just wanted to have a place to sleep and keep on living the life I was living. But some people, it's all about, being top guy or whatever. The connect or whatever, all that stupid stuff. We had issues because of that. And then I talked about it in the last video with Shaq, who was my connection for a while. The guy, I can't say his name. He's not with us anymore. It isn't right for me to mention this guy's name. The guy who's not with us anymore, who was texting in the back of that car to let them know what was up. Okay. That Floyd guy, he used that situation. He went around telling people, acting like I set something up. Like I set something up because Shaq got pulled over that day. Okay, check this out. I got charged. To the best of my knowledge, Shaq didn't get charged. I was the one who got caught with the dope. I was the one who got charged with it. I was the one who got sentenced for it. Did 13 months for it and drug court. So tell me how the hell I told on that shit if I got sentenced and I did drug court. Stupid. But anyhow, he's just a jealous little twerp anyway. So anyway, he was in prison, in the state prison with Kevin Crockett. And Kevin Crockett, he was talking about me, talking crap about me, something came up. And Kevin Crockett let him know. He said, listen, man. He said, nah, we ain't gonna do that. He said, you're talking about my brother there. And he said that. And, when he gets on, I'll have him tell the story about how he punked this fool down. And, I'm out of prison. He called me and he told me about it. And he asked me, and I put together who he was. We always call him Floyd. But anyway, this guy's trying to act hard and tough. Kevin, everybody's a gangster till a gangster shows up. This guy's a paper gangster. Shoot, he got robbed a handful of times. He's a clown. But anyway, he did make a little bit of money. Nothing incredible, but he put a little stuff together. But if I kept on doing what I was doing once I got out, and he kept on doing what he's doing, I'd robbed him every Wednesday and then again on Sunday. Okay, I would have. If I was still doing what I used to do, I'd rob him every Wednesday and again on Sunday. Punk. So that says something about what I think about him. But Kevin, popped up in his face. He's like, listen. Not only are you not going to say that around me, you're not going to say that when you're not around me. I don't want to hear that ever come out of your mouth again. What's wrong with you? And he called me and talked about the whole situation. And I let him know the whole thing. I'm like, man, it's insane because I got charged the day he's speaking of. And see, the main thing with that whole conundrum with me and Shaq, when that happened, I swore to God he set me up. Think about it. You meet a drug dealer in a parking lot of a gas station. They drive away. Nobody stops them. Somebody, you nearly get hit, and you got 10 undercover cops pull you out of the car and tell you, yeah, you're getting indicted. Not only that, we're going to stack charges. We know you're going to keep on selling drugs, so we're going to get you put away for a decade. And that's why I quit selling out of spite for that fat dude who said that stuff. But anyway, so I think Shaq set me up. I swore to God on it for years. I told everybody that, and I feel very guilty for that. And if he got pulled over 2 miles down the road, they found a little bit of weed in the car, even though he didn't get charged for the dope, I mean, he might have thought we just got pulled over, and I was like, the guy did it. He's right down the street. Or I don't know what he's thinking. I mean, he didn't get charged for it, so I don't know how. But anyway, he probably thought I did. So that was the weird thing about it. And basically, you know, I called him real quick and told him something about it. I was like, dude, what the... And he's like, somebody with you must have said something. And I was like, I'm thinking, you did. You're the one that did it. But I said, I think it's best we just don't talk anymore. And I'm thinking he just set me up. If me and Shaq had communicated more after that, I believe we would have figured it out. I think he had it figured out. I think I was too stupid because the guy in the back seat was literally like my brother. We lived in 2-3 different locations. And even after that, I lived with the dude for another 6 months, with him and his girlfriend for another 6 months. While he was probably informing on me every day. But he couldn't inform me nothing, I quit dealing. Tricks on him. And he ain't with us no more. I mean, Karma's a mother. But anyhow, if I'd talked to Shaq after that more in depth instead of just assuming and being in denial, you know, I think we would have kept on, you know. I feel bad because he was my friend. And I do feel really bad about that because, like, I really considered him, like, one of my best friends, Shaq was. I mean, it was more past dealing and stuff. Like, this dude was cool. Like, he was just, like, my best buddy. And it really sucked. I mean, really, it really, really sucked. We talked once or twice since I've been out. I ain't told him a whole lot about this stuff. It's just one of them conversations, you know. It took me... I sit there and I think and drive myself crazy. But anyway, Kevin Crockett stood up for it. So I'm going to turn back to the original story. So we're talking about Kevin Crockett. He gets out of the hole, and he ain't want to hang out with them. So Mean Girls for Men, they're gossiping. People ain't happy about this. There's one little guy who's scared to fight. But he's talking about people jumping Kevin. Okay. Now, there's this other guy, Josh. Josh actually ended up being my cellmate. And I've told a little bit about this because it's kind of funny. When I got, you know, moved in a cell with him, it was really hard for me because, like, we ended up becoming, like, we were really good friends before I moved in the cell with him. But I thought he had HIV, and I'm a hypochondriac, so that's an issue, you know. And I heard it from Dickie, the fake Muslim. Quit licking the table, weirdo. And you know, Dickie, the fake Muslim, said, talking about Hans, put your head on the table. You look like you're blowing me, like Dog Boy. There's a guy called Dog Boy had a relationship with his dog in a prison. Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. But anyway, Lord have mercy. So I heard from Dickie, yeah, he said, you're silly. He's got that Vizzle. I said, that Vizzle? What are you talking about? You know, what new age type of, you know, lingo are you speaking? I said, say it in English. He got the ninja. I'm like, what does that mean? The super ninja. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? HIV. He's got AIDS. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, they only give that to people who drink. They give them Ensure when they go at the pill line to help them keep their weight on. And, you know, I thought, man, he might have it. He might have it. So, anyway, what ended up happening that caused me to think, caused him to think, caused everybody to think that Josh had HIV, I'm going to let you know. He stood up and spoke up against this little twerpy guy, letting him know, y'all jump him, you're going to have to get me too. And that little twerpy guy, Josh got up in his stuff about it. And that little twerpy guy took great offense to that. That little twerpy guy hired this big old dude. This dude was big, okay? About 280-pound country guy. White guy, I believe he's from Tennessee. And he had a 2:45 eye. One that looks straight, and the other goes up to a 2:45. Kind of like a white version of Debo. Oh, nah, he wasn't that much. I mean, he had good bit, but he had good bit of fat too. Big old dude. And I actually was like right by this when it happened. And I talk about PTSD and how stuff still sticks with me. This is one of the type of things that can happen that'll stick with you if you've been in prison. I'm walking down the walkway, just walking out the wreck from my building. As I'm walking, just thinking about, this, that, probably thinking about, probably thinking about my ex, the hussy, wondering, is she a hoe? Because I think there's one thing, but some of this stuff ain't adding up. Is she a trick? I think she's a hoe. And I'm probably thinking about something like that, not thinking about stuff's about to go down right beside me. So about 5 foot or 10 foot away from me. Imagine somebody's walking side by side with somebody, and Josh was like about 210, 6 foot tall. Muscular fella, had a little weight on, but I mean muscular, stout dude. This other giant Devo, country old Devo type dude takes his arm. If I were to put my hand here and swing it more than 180, I'd say 270 degrees. Just turns his whole body with it too. And I heard the biggest crack, and he hit Josh right in the face. And he broke his face. I'll talk about that in a second. Josh fell on his butt, didn't knock him out. And I'll give it to him. He had a sack on him. Get popped like that by a man that big, he popped back up to his feet and he held up his fist, getting ready to fight. And the big Debo guy started making a scene and saying, "You want to go? You want to go, dude? Want to go? What's up, bro? What's up?" All that foolishness. Then the guards came. He wasn't able to get any shots back. They both went to the hole. Of course, they let Josh right back out because they witnessed it. Now, if it happened in private and Josh kept his mouth shut, he'd have been in the hole for a month too. But it was all on camera. It showed that he didn't swing. He didn't have time to swing back. He was going to swing back. Didn't have time. They rushed it before it could happen. So he got let back out. But anyway, it broke his upper jaw. Have you ever heard of somebody breaking their upper jaw? I haven't, except Josh. And I'll tell you what was really awful about this. It killed the nerve in his front tooth. So slowly, during the time I was cellmates with him, his tooth turned from white as could be. His front tooth turned white as could be. Got a little bit of a tint to it. And it started getting blacker and blacker. It killed the nerve, or he broke his upper jaw. I guess where it broke his jaw with it. But that's why everybody thought he had HIV. See, when people have a broken jaw or whatever, they can't eat certain things or whatever. Now, it wasn't his lower jaw, so I don't think he had to have wired shut, nothing like that. I never saw anything like that. I don't believe he had to wire shut, but I believe he couldn't eat as much because he had a broken jaw. The upper jaw was broken. So, at medical, they gave him Insure. Well, they give Insure to the people who got HIV. So everybody thought Hosh had AIDS because he was getting Insure because he got his jaw broke. Think about that. You get your jaw broke, then everybody else in the whole prison. Prison's like Mean Girls for Men. Mean Girls for Men. They saw that Insure. They said he's got HIV. Everybody gossip. Think Josh got AIDS now. Okay? Think about how bad that sucks. You're just walking, minding your business. Somebody breaks your jaw, and now everybody thinks you got AIDS. Man, isn't that a mother right there? That would suck. And but anyway, and because he was sticking up for his friend. And Kevin's a good dude. It's one of the best human beings you can ever meet in your life. Despite looking like a scary convict, jacked convict, he's the nicest person on the planet. Like literally, you can't hope to meet a better friend than Kevin. He is literally one of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. So the word was, the little twerpy guy that, got called at and all that, paid this Debo-looking white country dude with his 2:45 eye $300 to beat up Josh. And I mean, it wasn't a full-on whooping, but he cracked him. He broke his jaw. He broke his face. Front tooth died. $300, that's stupid as anything to beat somebody up for. People will do it, though. People will beat people up for far less than that. I think that he paid him in heroin, which that would make more sense. Because think about this. If you get in a fight, first off, you're going to spend a minimum of 30 days in solitary confinement in the hole, in the shoe. Typically, it's going to take a week before you see the disciplinary officer, so add another week to that, so 5 weeks. I believe the guy was in there for 6-7 weeks, actually. It probably took him a couple weeks to see the disciplinary hearing. All the time you're waiting to see the kangaroo court in prison, that don't count towards your time in the hole. Okay? That's just dead time. So, anyway, on top of that, they take 30 days of your good time. 30 days of your good time. You got to be in prison, a place that smells like sweaty balls, for another month of your life. On top of that, they're going to take your visits for a year. On top of that, they're going to take your commissary for 6 months. So even if you do get $300, how you going to spend that little bit of money if you can't buy any food? All you can get is hygiene. So, yeah, that happened. So that's kind of like the Mean Girls for Men thing. And then another person, just to talk about it briefly, was there's a guy, Aaron Brother, that had tattoos all over him, did state time and everything else. And apparently he had a statutory rape charge. And I looked it up once I got out because, you never know. You hear people say it, and I'm curious. Whenever I hear it, I remember just about every story. Every person I know by name in prison, I can tell you the majority of why they were there. Either from their mouth or because it's the Mean Girls for Men. Everybody gossips about everybody else. But I can tell you stories. So I looked it up. And yeah, he was a teenager. Got a statutory rape charge. And he ended up marrying the girl. He married the girl. He was a teenager with another teenager. Got a statutory rape charge. Married the girl. But guess what? In prison, that don't matter. If you're on that registry in federal prison. Now, state, it's a different story. I've heard all kinds of stuff, especially about Virginia and the state. People get by with a lot in that. They don't look at paperwork, none of that type of thing. But in federal prison, it don't matter. Pimps are not cool in prison. All that stuff, back when people used to think it was cool to be a PIMP, you're going to get STABBED. You're going to get stabbed. They're going to stab you. So think PIMP's cool. No. In federal prison, if you're on that registry, no. You're going to get poked up. You're going to get poked so full of holes that you might not make it. And I'm going to tell you something else. If you're for my friends at USP, here's what I heard. If somebody, like a pimp, shows up, before they show up, all the names of the people before they get there get to laundry, because they make you khaki suit and khaki pants, and they put this little tag on there with your name on it and your inmate number. The people at laundry pass those names to the shot callers of each race, each gang, all that stuff, and they look them up before they get there. So they know everything about your case, everything about your history, if you're a sex offender. And when you walk out on that compound, if you're a white guy, and I love you. And she's been trying to dip out too much lately. You got to break that hair. Get your butt up. And anyway, oh, I love you. No, don't get emotional. It's okay. She gets emotional. I talk to her like a baby. So they'll know who is who. So if you're a white person and you walk out on the compound, you got a big enough nutsack that hits the ground that you think you're going to be all right. On the way to your unit, before you make it to your bed, they're going to have 2 or 3 white guys that have knives, and they're going to stab you. If you're a black guy, it's going to be that. And if you're the amigos, oh my God. Whew. Amigos were the most vicious of anybody. No, the Mexican, most vicious. And for real, that's kind of who I got along with best. Ironically, they're in a huge Hispanic population here in Roanoke. But who I got along with best in prison. They were the only people at Petersburg made sure they didn't have any chomos in their group. They weren't having that. Even at Petersburg, they weren't having no chomo Mexicans. Wasn't going to happen. No, wasn't going to happen. They were vicious. But anyhow, that's kind of just like an overview of it. And the reason they did it with Max was he was making raps to make money, right? And see, he's Aryan Brotherhood in this group, and the gossiping group and all this stuff. Not the Aryan Brotherhood, but the other group, the white guy group. What? It's not the Woods. They call themselves the Haters. And but Max had. It was a little odd. He did have a couple chomos selling his wraps on the walkway during dinner time. He got chomos selling his wraps, and they were already gossiping about him anyway. I heard it. But after that, they looked him up, looked up everything, and yeah, and that actually ended up in King, the head of the Aryan Brotherhood, who I do burpees with every day, ended up stabbing this guy Rooster in the face. Tampa Vinny is a guy in the comments section. He's a big old jacked Italian dude who's like 220 pounds of muscle and tattooed neck to finger. Tampa Vinny is his username. And big old jack dude. King walked up to Vinny and said, "Watch my back while I go stab this mother." And he said, "All right." And he went, and afterwards, he said, "Well, I didn't think he's really going to do it." He did it. And he saw it. But anyway, yeah, the reason that King ended up stabbing him was because he made a ruling. The 3 Aryan Brotherhood members there had less than 5 years. If you have less than 5 years in federal prison, you're a short timer. Yeah, because federal prison, you get big sentences, big mandatory minimums. Yeah, the average person at the medium had a 15 to 20 year sentence. It was the average. Was probably 15 or 20 years was the average. So 5 years or less, they consider it a short time. Most of these guys had like, a few years left. So he said, "I want to make a rule." And, they got all these chomos here, everything else. We're all got this much time left. He says, it's 40, all the chomos they got here and everything else. None of us need to get more time. So what we're going to do is we're going to have him cover every tattoo he's got. It's got anything Aryan Brotherhood in it. And that's going to be the end of it. He's going to stay away from us. We're going to leave him alone. Rooster started gossiping about him. And, yeah, King didn't put up with that. So it was ironic because King didn't have Max stabbed, but then the guy who gossiped about him, King let him know, "I am still a gangster," okay? King, he's just a middle-aged country guy. Man, he can do some burpees, though. I'll tell you, good God, can you do some burpees. That's why I started working out with him. I saw this one guy, his celly, started working out with him. It went from like 220 pounds, looked like a milk dud, to his celly was small, about 5'5", 5'6". He ended up looking like he was only about 155, 160 pounds. He looked like Batman. And Tampa Vinny, if he's watching, I hope he watches this, he can tell you about that. He can tell you about Tabor, his celly, about how he went from looking like a milk dud to literally looking like Batman. He started doing burpees with King. So I started doing burpees. I asked him, I'd been running 8 miles a day before I started doing burpees. 4 in the morning, then 4 right after lunch. First day of burpees, I got through about 130 2 push-up burpees. We did 200 burpees, and it had to be in less than 20 minutes every day. And that was the start of it. That was the core of it. But, yeah, even then, you got to learn to breathe with it. It's a whole different type of workout than regular. There are different types of cardio. I think burpees is the best for it, personally. It's incredible. So anyway, I'm going to shut up now. If you liked the video, press the like button. If not, that is 28 minutes and 37 seconds of your life in which you'll never get back. And for that, I do apologize. Sorry if this is up a little bit late. On my second channel, I want to post, pin the comment from my second channel. I'm going to have video there. I'm talking about some interesting stuff there. I cuss there. Be aware. Don't play it in front of kids. And if you don't like cussing, if you don't like vulgarity, don't go there. It's mostly for comedic purposes. But I'm vulgar as a mother, gutter as a mother on the second channel. That's like the motto of the second channel is gutter as a mother. Went with my sister today. We had a good time. Went out to eat. It was a fun time. I don't see her too much. She's out in California, living out in L.A., living the dream. So, I had to spend some time with her today. So, sorry it's up a little bit late, but I make it happen. So, anyway, if you like it, press the like button.